Welcome back. In today's class, we're going to talk about something that seems to be, and I say this a lot. You guys probably hear me. This is a problem in our country. This is something we need to fix in the world, right? But there are so many things. That's why financial literacy is so important, that you understand conservative spending, making sure you never spend more than you earn, making sure that you always find a good deal, being making sure you get the best possible pay, benefits, so on and so forth. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. I love teaching this, and I hope that you're enjoying as much, learning it as much as I am teaching it. But one thing that seems to be a growing problem is in our country and worldwide, there's this sense of entitlement, meaning that people think they are owed something. You hear a lot, grandparents or parents, right, where the greatest generation that ever lived, the World War II, right, they were amazing, and we owe our freedom to them. We owe our very ability, me being able to talk to you about capitalism and financial literacy and all that is because of the brave men and women who have fought and died for our country to give us these freedoms here in the United States. They worked for what they received. They tilled the hard, rocky ground to grow the crops. They went out and they invented things to make our lives easier. They did what was necessary of them. Well, next generation comes along, and next generation. Today, when I walk around the mall with my family, I like to do that. It gets my kids all tired, right? And then we go home and grab a little snack, and off they go to bed because they're pooped from walking so much. Well, as I'm going around, you have the stores along the outside edges, right? And in the middle, you have the kiosks. And more often than not, those salespeople in the kiosks, they don't stop you. All they do is they sit there and they check their cell phones. And you walk by. In fact, there was one time I wanted to buy something from one of the kiosks, and the girl looked at me and goes, "Hold on," and was talking on the cell phone. And once she was done talking, then she would help me, and I got what I needed, and off I went. But I tell my wife, if they were my employees, I would fire them. Their job is not to sit there and say, "You owe me this money." If they are going to receive an honest day's wage, they need to put in an honest day's worth of work. There's a lot of people out there right now who think that they need to have what mom and dad have, right? We talked about it earlier. Your mom and dad, say, are wealthy, right? Does that make you wealthy? No. You work for what you receive. You need to make sure that whatever you do is a legacy you're building. And if your parents are able to give you something, then that's wonderful. But you should not be waiting around for mom and dad to give you an inheritance or to give you ownership in a company. You become your own legacy. You make your family name bigger than it is today. We have a sayings in my family with my children. You're a Stevens, and a Stevens can do, and then we all yell, anything. And I tell my son and my daughter, and my youngest is too young to understand right now, but I explain to them that the Stevens name has spent generations making it good for you. It is your choice, to my son and daughter, whether you take that name and make it even better or to make it worse. It's like the parable of the talents. You're given so many talents. Do you expand upon it and grow it? Do you take so many talents and you grow it a little bit? Or do you hide those talents? You take your family name, are you going to grow it? Are you going to make it better? Are you going to work hard to make sure that if someone looks you in the eye and says, "I am so-and-so, I am Brother Stevens," are people going to go, "Oh, whoa, 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 I know about that Brother Stevens. Watch out"? Or are they going to say, "I've heard of you," or "I know of your name. You're honest. You're hardworking. You do what is right"? You need to make sure that that's right. So, back from that little bit of a tangent there. Just because your parents have it doesn't mean you're owed it, right? Your parents have worked hard to get to where they are. They may at this point in time have a big home. They may have the big fancy TVs, surround sounds, and really nice furniture. But I remember growing up in my household, My dad would go through and he'd work very hard, still does. He's retired now. And my mom worked hard. And she was at home with us, but she would sew clothes and do things to help with the finances. We didn't have always the newest and the greatest. We had the ability through family for them to come in and help out, but my parents chose not to. They decided to do it themselves and make it work. And I am proud of that. But in today's society, there's that entitlement of, well, mom and dad have that, so I need it. That's why there's so much debt. That's why credit card maxing it out is almost a trend. I read an article that a married couple, it's okay now for them to each to have about $60,000 worth of debt. Could you imagine getting married today knowing that between the two of you there's $120,000 worth of debt that did not include cars or a home? That was student loans and credit card debt. That would stress me out beyond everything. You want to make sure that as you're going through, you're going to start out. You know, if you have a local Goodwill or a DI or a Salvation Army store, a lot of people find furniture there. A lot of people go to garage sales. A nice thing right now, there's a lot of websites that show you deals and everybody shares what the deals are. So even today, where we can go out and pay top dollar for everything we want, for Christmas a couple months ago, we found my son a Thomas the Train track system with the swinging bridge and comes with the train. It was amazing. He's 2 years old. He loves Thomas the Train. And we look for those deals. We've talked about that. All year we find the deals. And this train set was regularly $80, and we found it on sale for $24.99. Now, does that mean that train wasn't as appreciative? Was the gift not as good? Right? No. We were able then to take that leftover money and do something else for my son. When you're starting out, find those special deals. Make sure that you go through the garage sales, yard sales, estate sales, right? Look for those things. There's nothing embarrassing about having something that's not brand new. Some people call it eating humble pie, right? You have to be a little bit humbled and realize that you can't have the finest of everything right now. Someday you will if you work hard. Make sure that buying new doesn't always mean the best. Find those deals, okay? When you eat out, when my wife and I were first married, one of my favorite memories, we lived over by a lake called Utah Lake. And we were a couple blocks away from a gas station that as you drove out towards the lake, there's a gas station, and you went south, and our home was down a couple blocks that way. So for our date, we would go on a walk, and we'd walk to the gas station, and we had just enough money to buy one of those strawberry shortcake ice creams. You know the one I'm talking about. It comes in the wrapper, it's pink and white, has all the little crumbs around it, and it's the ice cream, bar. And we would share that amongst each other on the way home. And I still kind of get a little emotional thinking about those special memories of my wife and I when we really had nothing. Now we go out and we buy big old things of ice cream and we eat them, and they're special, but they're not the same types of memories as when I was with my wife and we went on those walks, those dates, and shared that. You need to create those memories. Okay? You need to make sure, start with nothing. It's amazing what you can do. When you eat out, one of the most expensive things while eating out is soda. I don't know if you guys know that. Look at the prices. Get water. A, it's healthier for you, but B, you'll save quite a bit of money. Number two, if you're going to look and see if the restaurant, if it costs you to get refills. If it does, look at the comparison between a large and a small, right? If free refills, get the small and get more refills. There's nothing embarrassing about that. If you can only afford one cup and refills cost money, then don't put ice in it. Typically, the drinks come out cold, okay? Try not to do the dessert. When you go out and eat with your family, it's expensive. And desserts, they're fun. But you know what? You really don't need them, and they're one of the most expensive items on the menu. Always look for the specials when you're eating out. Burger King, McDonald's, if that's where you want to go, they always have, buy this many burgers for this many dollars. Arby's have this many things for this many dollars. If you go to KFC, they always have their special daily deals. Once again, we've talked about it, but smartphones, there's usually apps that say, hey, get this free meal here today. One of the stores I like going to is IKEA. Every Monday morning, did you know they serve you a big breakfast for free? Now, I don't go there every Monday morning, but maybe once a month it's fun to go there before 11, and I get a big old thing of eggs and some bacon and everything. And I have an IKEA card. Remember we talked about that? And that gets me free hot chocolate every day if I would like, or water like we talked about. And so here you have an individual. I like to think I'm pretty savvy with my finances. Some people would be embarrassed to go get that. Why is it embarrassing to be a smart shopper? I don't think it is. So when you're going out there, always make sure that you find the best deal. Make sure that you understand how to do it. Growing up in Germany, they had things called flea markets. I love flea markets. At a flea market, you haggle. Have you guys ever done that? It's kind of becoming a lost art. In my front right pocket, I'd have, in Germany, instead of dollars, they had, at that time, now it's euros, but they had marks. So I'd have, a 1 mark coin. I'd have 5 marks, 20 marks in my back pocket, and so on and so forth. And when I was little, I loved Mickey Mouse comic books. They were so much fun. And so I'd go up and I'd see people at these flea markets, hundreds of people there with blankets out or tables, and you could see these, and I was getting my collection built of this Mickey Mouse comic book. And I'd go up and I'd see, they'd want 5 marks for 10. I'd say, well, and I'd pull out the one pocket, I only have this much. And then they would counter offer. So say it was 10 marks, I say I only have 5. Well, what about 7? I could maybe do 6. And we'd probably settle on $6.50. They were asking 10, I got it for $6.50. They were happy, I was happy. You can still do this nowadays. Haggling seems to be a lost art. For some reason, people are so embarrassed about the idea of, hey, do you offer this discount? Right? If you're in the military or if you work for the police, did you know most restaurants will actually offer you a discount when you eat there? You just have to ask. Nothing embarrassing about that. Go to the flea markets. You can always find a lot of neat treasures. Right now, it's very trendy to take old furniture from the 50s and before, and then you take and you refinish them. I love that. My wife is fantastic at doing that, refinishing and putting new leather on. A lot of my friends take and they paint it in that vintage French white, and they distress it and everything. These are things that are good because they can pick up beautiful, wonderful, Ethan Allen chairs, dining tables, dressers. They're just used. Put on some new knobs, give it a little paint. My wife actually, all of my kids have a dresser that my wife has gone out, found at a garage sale. She goes in, cleans them, repaints them, distresses them, puts on new handles, and it's a brand new dresser for my children. And she picked it up for less than 10% of what it would have cost, brand new. These are the things that you need to do. That is savvy shopping. So when you're talking about it, new or used, what are the things that you have to buy new? I would absolutely say toothbrushes. Make sure your underwear is brand new, right? Shoes, typically, if you buy used, it's going to hurt your feet. But there are things like shirts you could buy used when you're starting out. There are things like automobiles you can buy used when you're starting out. In fact, talking about automobiles, oftentimes you can buy used 1 or 2 years old and still get a warranty on it. And all of that depreciation, and depreciation means going down in value. A car is not worth, if you buy a brand new car and you drive off the lot, you've already lost money. And so if you don't pay it off, chances are you may actually owe more than it's worth within the first year or two. And so you go to the dealership and you find the brand new model that's typically a year old. You're going to pay a lot less for it. Someone else has paid for the depreciation, low miles, and it's a great deal. So once again, new versus used. What works for you right now? Not what works for your parents, what they have now. Not what works for your neighbors. There's a saying that those are happiest are not the ones who have the most, but they're the ones who are most happy with what they have now. Thank you.